This video is going to just go over some things that I did, and by I mean my husband and I, when we were trying to get out of debt. Okay, so stay tuned. We didn't have creditors calling us, right? We didn't have people knocking on our door. We didn't have pink slips of past due notice. But we realized that we were really not living paycheck to paycheck, but at the end of the month, I think we barely had $500 left. And we hadn't saved anything. So when we finally decided to sit down and figure this thing out, the realization kind of scared me. It did. It did. We started, the first thing I had to decide was, I know debt, the only way to get rid of debt is to either increase your income or decrease your outgo, right? So that means make more money or stop spending so much money, in a nutshell. So I have young children, right? Working extra, I was already working 3 12-hour shifts as a nurse, and just that alone, I was away from home for such a long time, and I didn't want to miss out on things. I didn't want to come home and my kids don't even know me, or I have to keep dropping them off to family members. So I decided working extra wasn't ideal for me. Now, if I need to, I would, but I wanted to try other things first. So we decided to start with cutting things. Cut, right? If I can cut some things, I can create some wiggle room. So the first thing, if you are in this position, I would advise you to do is to first go over your credit report, okay? That's like a report card. Tells you where you are strong in, tells you where you are weak in, tells you what you knew was on there and what you don't know. So that's the first place to start. And let me pause for a second. When I had to pull up my credit report in front of my husband, oh my God, I felt so naked. I had pulled it up separately by myself, but I've always known my husband had great credit. I mean, even now he's probably like 850, if there's such a thing. He's ridiculous. He's always had good credit, and here I am like 500, whatever, and I was embarrassed. I was, and every time he came home from work, after we talked about this, he would say, "Babe, did you pull up your credit?" And I'm like, I'll do it later. Eventually, I kept postponing. He sat me down, and I had no choice but to pull up my credit. Once I did that, though, it was like a weight had been lifted off, right? So he saw my credit, and he goes, "Okay, we got work to do." And that was it. There wasn't no judgment. There wasn't how terrible could you be with money. I thought you had more sense than that. It was none of that. It was just, okay, we got some work to do. And I really, truly appreciate that. So that's the first thing I would tell you. Pull up your credit, see what your grade is, right? So when you know what your grade is, then you know how to proceed. My first suggestion to you after pulling your credit is to do your budget. Your budget is your spending plan. People have cute names for it, but the bottom line is it tells you what you need to spend on. It shows you what you made and where it goes. Now, I don't know if you saw my previous video, but if you don't budget, your money will vanish and you have no idea where that money went. The very first thing I had to do was to stop going out to eat. Now, I have friends, and we're young, so we like to go to fancy places and enjoy ourselves. Now, when you are trying to get out of debt, you can't be doing that. You really can't. Because even if you go with the intention of spending $20 on a salad and a drink, if it's one of those places and it's a group dinner, no less, you're probably walking out of there with like a $50 to $100 check, because the foods are really expensive, the drinks are really expensive, and then they add gratuity because you are a part of a big party, right? And if it's for a birthday dinner, then everybody wants to chip in for that birthday dinner. Or even worse, they want to split the check evenly, even though you know when you were eating that salad, it wasn't as delicious as the person eating that big old, what's it called, branzino fish over there. However, when the bill comes, they want to split it. So if you are getting out of debt, please don't put yourself in that position. Just don't go. Just don't go. Look at how you can cut expenses within your home, right? So the very first thing to go for us was cable, right? We were sitting there and I was like, wait a minute, we're paying $150 for cable and I barely even watch TV. So we cut our cable. Now, we still have internet, we still have Netflix, we have Hulu, but we cut off cable. And let me tell you, okay, I was paying $150. Some of you out there might be paying upwards to $200. Just $150 a month in cable bill can translate into $1,800 at the end of the year. So please do yourself a favor. If you're trying to get out of debt, every dollar counts. So if you can live without cable, I say do it. Cut out the cable. If you go out and buy coffee every day. Now, something as little as coffee, people are like, oh, what's the big deal? Coffee adds up. Coffee adds up. Okay? If you drink Starbucks every day, even the smallest size is almost $5. Okay? Times that by 31 days. Roughly about $150 is what you can be saving a month on coffee. If you love the coffee, I'm not knocking any of these coffee places. It's just really expensive. Go buy the coffee, go buy the coffee and come home and make it yourself. You can still get the delicious coffee in your home, and you don't have to keep going out and paying such huge amount of money and just wasting it away. If you also eat out a lot or order in a lot, it adds up. You are eating away your future. You literally are. I want you to be able to pull up your bank statement and just go back 1 month and see how much money you have spent on food. Okay? When you are getting out of debt, you have to be intentional. You have to have a budget. And in that budget, it tells you what you can spend on food. So if you are trying to figure out, well, we don't shop, we don't do this, but we don't have any money, chances are you are losing money because you're eating out too much. So make a plan to, if you eat out 3-4 times a week, maybe you just drop it down to once a week and see how that goes, right? I mean, it's worth a try, and that would definitely help you save money. You have clothes you are in good shape, or maybe you went on a shopping spree and you still have things with tags on them, or things that don't fit anymore. Sell them. Do yard sales, do eBay, sell those things. Okay, if you have furniture you don't use, if you have electronics you don't use, sell them. They're not worth anything sitting in your home if you're not using them. So sell them to be able to create some income. Now that we're in a pandemic, a lot of these businesses are offering some form of discount, but you wouldn't know until you ask. So for example, Geico was offering like a 15% discount. And with the cell phone companies, I qualified because I'm a nurse. I qualified for 25% off my cell phone bill. But even if you don't qualify, right? First thing you can do is look, if you work for a big business, see if they have discounts. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. When I worked at the hospital, my hospital had certain discounted rates with different cell phone carriers. So you will know until you ask, right? And call them up. Call them, call Netflix and say, hey, I'm struggling with my bill. Can we do some adjustments? And listen, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. But if you call them and say, hey, we're in a pandemic, things are tight, how can you help me out? They don't want to lose a customer. They will probably do some kind of negotiating. And the same with Comcast. I have a girlfriend. Every couple of months, she calls all of these people, Hulu, Comcast, anywhere she has business with, and she tells them, hey, things are tough. What can you do? And they chip off a little bit of money for her. So there is no shame in asking. If you ask people, there's a chance it could be yes, but if you sit down and suffer in silence, the answer is always no. Cash. I don't know what it is about cash. When I have cash on hand, I don't want to spend my cash because I always think, oh, if I'm in an emergency, I want to be able to have cash. So I tend to hold on to money much longer when it's cash. If I have to swipe my bank card, I do that without even a thought. I do that all day. But when you have cash, you treat it a little differently. So I would say, the routine bills, keep those through automatically drafted, but everything else, try to use cash. Use cash for your spending money, use cash for your gas, use cash for groceries. And that will make a difference because when you go to spend in this category, if the envelope is empty, guess what? You have no money. So those are just a few suggestions that I have for you. But again, the biggest difference for us came with the fact that we were communicating. We were talking about everything. And I think that if you are married, getting on the same page with your spouse makes such a huge difference, right? I used to say when we were dating, I don't care if we live in a 1-bedroom apartment as long as we are together in this, right? So I say that to say there are people out there that have separate everything. I'll do a separate video on that to talk about my views on married couples and if they should have joined everything, right? But there are people that say, oh no, that's my wife's student loans and that's this. I feel like we moved through this process more efficiently because we were a team and because it wasn't an I, it was a we, right? So when we got a bonus at work, we celebrated. When we paid off a debt, we celebrated. And we just held each other accountable through this process. So, I didn't have to work 3, 4, 5 jobs to make ends meet. Luckily, with just those minor changes, we were able to give ourselves some wiggle rooms, and then we were able to figure it out. So, there are other ways to go about this. I just know initially that's what worked for us. And please comment if you have other suggestions. I would love to hear it because as I'm coaching people, through their process, the more suggestions we have, the better their outcome is. So I appreciate any comments, any suggestions. And if you are struggling, if you are overwhelmed, if you are scared, please reach out to a financial coach, okay? It's not gonna get better until you do something about it. So we're here to help. It doesn't have to be me. Just find you a financial coach and get some help because, it's not a good feeling when you are so stressed and overwhelmed, okay? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you took something out of this video. Stay blessed. Have a wonderful day.